Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I appreciate it. Mr. Patel, thank you so much for being here. To your family, I know that this has to be such an incredible moment. Congratulations, and thank you for making time to be a part of this with all of us. Look, I have been diligently listening over the last few hours, and what I have heard you say is this, that your duty is to protect American citizens, that you will work to uphold the Constitution. I have heard you say you're going to get back to making sure you focus on violent crime. You said, I want children to have parks to play in, not needles to walk on. You said, I'm going to let cops be cops. You said, we've got to get back to having full transparency. You said all requests will be responded to, and on all members of the Judiciary Committee, for that we say thank you. You said you were going to have the backs, as you always have, of law enforcement. You reminded us about being embedded in SEAL Team 6. You said our law enforcement officers deserve the very best. You said you know and you will not allow there to be victims of government overreach because it has happened to you. You talked about having no intention of going backwards. You have talked about making sure that we actually address drug overdoses. You talked about your work with 1.3 million active duty service members, making sure they had resources they needed. You've talked about de-weaponizing and making sure that we don't politicize the department. You said America is the greatest nation. You said you believe that because you believe in the rule of law. You have told me personally, gone will be the days of identifying a person and looking for a crime. You have said everything you do will be factual and constitutionally based. You have said there will be no targeting based on someone's faith. You have said that when these FBI agents are upholding the law, you will always have their back. You have said that there will be a singular form of justice once again. And most importantly, I think in addition to all of this, is I have really not gotten to hear you talk about the FBI. And so I would love, you mentioned in the 7 minutes that it takes one of these senators to ask you questions, that unfortunately there are, I believe you said, 3 rapes, 2 overdoses, 1 murder. Look, yesterday we signed the Laken Riley Act and the law President Trump did. And when we look at what's happening across our country with the surge of illegal migrants that have come in, when we look at fentanyl overdoses being the leading cause of death between the ages of 18 and 45, I've heard you say you want to tackle that. When we look at parents like Laken Riley's mother yesterday, as she talked about her heartbreaking loss that should have never happened, Rachel Marin's family there, Sarah Root's family there, Jocelyn Nungary's family there, they deserve an FBI that is focused on finding these criminals and getting them out of here. So my question for you is, I'd like for you to talk about that. You've talked about cleaning up America, making it safe and secure for its people. Please tell the American people your plans.
Thank you, Senator. I really appreciate it. And the 2 themes that, if I'm confirmed, that I have for the FBI are really just going back to keeping it simple. 1, let good cops be cops. 100,000 drug overdoses, 100,000 rapes, 17,000 homicides. That's only with 70% of the precincts reporting in. That is violent crime exploding out of control. We've got 38,000 employees at the FBI, and as I alluded to earlier, almost a third of them work in and around the Washington, D.C. area. Well, those crimes are committed out in the rest of America. And I'm going to let good cops be cops and put handcuffs on the bad guys and put child molesters in prison and put murderers in prison and make sure CCP fentanyl doesn't kill another one of your constituents. That's track 1. Track 2, to restore the trust in the FBI. That has degraded, not by my opinion, by the Gallup poll, that only 40% of Americans have trust and faith in the FBI. It is a cataclysmic failure in leadership to get to that point that did not happen over time. And so what the FBI must do while tackling violent crime and protecting Americans' national security and our sovereignty is work with Congress, Republicans and Democrats, to expose any government corruption, provide government accountability through transparency, and get you all the documents that you are the custodians of. The FBI reports to Congress. If I am confirmed as FBI director, I will report to Congress. And I will just save you with this one caveat here about my personal experiences with the FBI. The men and women of the FBI do the most courageous work on God's green earth. I was fortunate enough to utilize FISA 702 national security measures to prevent a shopping mall from blowing up in Houston and the state capitol from being attacked in California. Courageous men and women do that work every day, and these are cases you never hear about. Instead, the only things you hear about are the baseless conspiracy theories and attacks levied at me. Well, here's something for America. You can say whatever you want about me. If I'm confirmed, bring it on. But you will not denigrate the men and women of the FBI that saved this country.
Amen. Thank you, thank you, thank you. And speaking of, I want to talk to you a little bit about how you're going to make sure that those men and women have the opportunity to get out and about throughout the country. And so when we look at that, obviously Huntsville, Alabama, to me is a Redstone. That's exactly right. Redstone Arsenal is a beacon of what we should look at, putting our men and women out amongst the very people that they serve. And so in my next few minutes, I certainly want to talk to you about that. I'll save it for the next three. But just finishing up on what's happening at our border. We saw under this previous administration that there were about, I think, 1.7 million special interest aliens that came across our border. I think the House Judiciary Committee put it out. That's obviously from the 26 countries that DHS determines have the greatest threat here in our homeland. When you're looking at how do you tackle that, so they're in the interior. Additionally, the people on the terrorist watch list, the hundreds of people that have been released into our country, how do you man your men and women to go and find those individuals and make sure that our country is safe?
This is going to require a collection of law enforcement, what we call 1811 agents across the various agencies. Specifically, HSI and Secretary Noem are going to be prioritized with tasking and going after illegals to follow the law and the orders issued by the White House. But also at the same time, the FBI possesses an enormous amount of resources to go into our jails and find those already imprisoned and with pending deportation orders, with pending violations of their parole status. So if I'm confirmed, the full resources of the FBI, where appropriate, will be committed to that cause, but I believe primacy rests with other agencies.
Excellent. Thank you so much.